Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Annalise and I teach people how to change their life by changing their thoughts. And today I'm going to teach you all about the shadow and how to do shadow work. So let's start first of all by talking about what the shadow is. So you might have heard of an amazing psychologist called Carl Jung, and he is the one who first described the shadow. What it is, it's all the things about us that we judge, shame ourselves for, the things that we don't like, the things that we have self-hatred about. So it could be something to do with your appearance. You might be judging your appearance in somewhere. I'm too fat, I'm too ugly, I'm not good enough, all of those different thoughts that you have. But then it can also be about your personality and character. I'm too much, and all of these different things that thoughts that all of us have inside of ourselves and we need to release. So the way that we release them is through asking ourselves questions and doing journaling. So I'm going to go through some journal prompts with you today just to help you to get to the bottom of what your shadow is, because you might be able to pick out a few things like, yeah, I don't like my nose and blah blah blah, but there will still be so many deeply ingrained into your subconscious mind that you don't even know there. So let me teach you this real quick. So from the ages of being in the womb until like 7 years old, our brain is in a theta brainwave state. That's the same as when you're being hypnotized. So every single thing in our environment that we learn at home, in school, in church, or whatever religious background that you've got, whatever you go through as a child, that's all being absorbed like a sponge, and it's all going into our subconscious mind and building our worldview for the future. So certain little comments that you might have got as a child, and you might not think about it as yourself, but it's still back there in the back of your mind, like, oh, she's too loud, or he's such a this. Do you know what I mean? All these things are in the back of your mind and you don't realize that it's part of your shadow, and these things need to be brought to the surface, and you do that through asking yourself questions. And that's what we're going to do today. Get yourself a pen and some paper. I've got all of my journal prompts here that I'm going to share with you today. They're going to be really, really profound, not just for your mindset, but for you emotionally as well. If tears come to the surface, allow them to come. It's an amazing release. So first of all, we're going to start by identifying different thoughts and feelings within us. Make sure to pause when you're doing your journaling and play again when you're ready for the next question. So first of all, what qualities and behaviours in others irritate or anger you the most? Reflect on these traits and how they might be present within you. Next, I want you to write about a time when you felt ashamed or embarrassed. What qualities or actions were you displaying at that time? It can be uncomfortable for us to admit, but often the traits that we don't like in others are the unacknowledged traits within ourselves that we don't like, and that's how the subconscious mind brings them to the surface. Now we're going to look at embracing the neglected aspects inside of us that we've pushed down, or we feel shame or hatred towards, so then we just keep them inside and we don't want anyone else to see. That's what we're going to explore now. What parts of yourself have you tried to suppress or hide? Next, what are some strengths or positive aspects you see as negative within yourself, but you see as positive in other people? Every single trait that we have has a flip side. So something that you might view as a weakness within yourself can actually be a strength if you can just change it in a slight way. It could even just be a change in perspective for you. Bridging the gap straight from that last question and into the next topic, we are going to be looking at exploring contradictions. So first of all, I want you to describe a situation where your actions contradicted your beliefs or values. How did this make you feel? Next, I want you to reflect on a time when you felt a strong irrational, emotional reaction. And then what part of your shadow is being highlighted there? These contradictions are windows straight into our shadow, and they show us exactly where we need to grow and where we need to heal. Next is something really, really important, and it's all about self-reflection and fully accepting yourself, accepting every single part about yourself. So I want you to write about a recent conflict or argument that you've had. How did your shadow contribute to that? Next, how do you think that your life would change if you fully accepted and integrated your shadow? Acceptance is so transforming. Visualize your future self with a fully integrated shadow. It's really, really empowering. So now we're moving on to projection awareness. And the first question is, list the people who trigger you the most. What qualities do they possess that you might be denying within yourself? And next we've got recall a dream where someone was chasing or confronting you. How might they represent your shadow? Our triggers and dreams are powerful tools for self-discovery. Pay attention to them. They're speaking to you, they're trying to teach you something, they're trying to bring something to the surface so that it can be released and healed. Now we're going to have a dialogue and a bit of a conversation with our shadow, and it's going to help us to get to know our shadow a little bit better. So what I want you to do is imagine having a conversation with them. What would it say to you? What would your shadow say to you if you could have a conversation with it right now? And then obviously, how would you respond? And then next, what I want you to do is I want you to write a letter to your shadow self, and I want you to express all your thoughts and feelings towards it. This conversation can be so revealing because what it does is it helps bridge that gap between your conscious mind and your shadow. Moving on from that, we're now at self-compassion. And what I want you to do is I want you to reflect on a mistake or failure from any time in your life. It doesn't have to be recent. The first one that comes to your mind, some sort of mistake that you made or some sort of perceived failure. How can you show compassion to yourself in regards to that failure or in regards to that mistake? Next, how can you reframe a negative self-belief into a more balanced and accepting perspective? Compassion is the absolute foundation of this work that we're doing today, so please be kind to yourself as you navigate these deep waters. Right, now we're on to behaviour patterns, and these are the patterns that we act out within our life and the actions that we take because of our shadow. So I want you to identify a recurring negative pattern in your life. What does it reveal about your shadow? Next, how can you take steps to change that pattern? Small steps make a big difference. By recognizing these patterns, it really helps us with our own self-development and taking ourselves to the next level. And lastly, we've got creative exploration. I want you to draw or doodle your shadow. It doesn't have to be a masterpiece. It's just whatever comes to you. Have a quick do. What does your shadow look like to you? Yeah. And then go from there, start to label it. What does that represent? And lastly here, what I want you to do is I want you to write a short story or a poem from the perspective of your shadow. What sort of insights does that bring? Creativity can unlock hidden parts of ourselves. I really suggest letting your imagination run free and run wild with this one. So, book closed now. Thank you very, very, very much to everyone who tuned in today. I hope you've taken an abundance of insights from yourself, not even from me. You've done this work yourself. You've gone through that and you've answered those questions. You've done yourself a great service. But if you've taken value from this today, please hit that like button, share it with your friends. It does something to the algorithm. It helps me, but it also helps other people to find me who might need to hear what I've got to say. So I love you. See you later. Namaste.